Conceived as the Great Experiment, the Excelsior class was intended to herald in a new age of space exploration for Starfleet Command and the United Federation of Planets. Unfortunately, though, that experiment failed. But after a quick refit, the Excelsior class would go on to become one of Starfleet's best, most reliable, and long-lived designs ever created for the Federation. But what do we know about this staple class? Well, today we'll find out. Hello and welcome to another episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon, a Star Trek web series that dives into the history of any given topic, using beta canon sources and my own imagination to fill in the gaps. In today's episode, we're taking a look at the 23rd century version of the Excelsior class, as first seen in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, to better understand its place in Star Trek history. Please note, this video is technically an update of an older video of mine, adapted to my now established style. Also, this video is only on the 23rd century version of the class. Future videos on both the 24th and 25th century versions are in the works and will be released at some point in the future. And of course, as always, because this is a beta canon video, all information relayed should pretty much be taken with a grain of stardust and only considered a little bit of Star Trek fun. And so, with all that out of the way, let's begin. Starfleet Command was making leaps and bounds technology-wise during the latter part of the 2260s, while at the same time, their current starship designs were beginning to show their age. The Constitution class, though still considered the jewel in Starfleet's crown, began to see its numbers dwindled, after many were either lost or destroyed, and so it was clear to Starfleet Command that its Starfleet was in need of an overhaul. Meanwhile, citizens all over the Federation began to lose confidence in Starfleet, a polarizing topic that came to a head when one of Starfleet's most decorated captains, Commodore Matthew Decker, and his starship, the USS Constellation, was lost while exploring and subsequently battling a planet-killing weapon that had been a direct threat to the Federation itself. Several Federation member worlds demanded Starfleet come up with new technologies and starship designs that could better ensure the survival of the organization. And in response, Starfleet Command commissioned a new class, the Miranda class, as a testbed for its new technologies that it had been developing. And with the triumphant and successful return of the USS Enterprise from Starfleet's current round of 5-year exploratory missions, the decision was made to capitalize on the Enterprise's historic return and create a brand new refit design for the class based on the technologies included within the Miranda class. For 18 months, the Enterprise underwent its refit, being almost completely gutted and then rebuilt into an impressive and powerful yet elegant-looking starship design. Both the Constitution-class refit and the Miranda class were considered a huge success for Starfleet, and by the mid-2270s, Starfleet Command began looking towards the future of space exploration once again. Then in 2276, Starfleet's Corps of Engineers believed that they had made an unprecedented breakthrough into transwarp technology. The problem was that none of Starfleet's current starship designs could accommodate the new engine system and its components adequately or handle the subspace stresses involved with transwarp travel. And so, Starfleet Command approved a brand new starship design to be created as a testbed for the transwarp drive, and the Excelsior class was born. Sitting at a length of approximately 467 meters and 28 decks tall, the Excelsior class was designed to be operated by 700 officers and crew members. The class's hull would be reinforced with a Victrium alloy to counteract any subspace stresses created by transwarp velocities. Her internal systems would utilize the latest breakthroughs in Starfleet's technology, including a specially designed computer core created by the Daystrom Institute, which could handle the calculations and monitoring of the transwarp drive systems, and brand new flat panel interface technology, which would replace any and all push-button style workstations. And by 2285, the USS Excelsior was ready for trial runs. But before they began, Admiral Kirk and his old command crew of the Enterprise had fought the genetically engineered superhuman from the eugenics war known as Khan, and the Enterprise herself was badly damaged, and Captain Spock would lose his life, sacrificing it to save the starship. Returning to Earth, Starfleet made the decision to decommission the Enterprise, and transferred its chief engineer Montgomery Scott to the Excelsior, where they believed his extensive knowledge and innovative engineering approach would be an asset to that project. When it was discovered by Admiral Kirk that Captain Spock had essentially downloaded his consciousness into Dr. Leonard McCoy's brain, and that Spock's body had somehow been reanimated by the Genesis planet, Admiral Kirk and his senior staff decided to steal the Enterprise to save both men. The USS Excelsior, preparing for its trial run, was sent after the Enterprise with orders to pursue and prevent the Enterprise from reaching its destination. But when the USS Excelsior readied its transwarp drive for the pursuit, to everyone's surprise, the ship simply stalled. Towed back to space dock, it was quickly revealed that several computer chips had been removed from its transwarp drive system, and the charges of sabotage of the USS Excelsior were added to the Enterprise crew's long list of offenses for their trial. After replacing these components, the USS Excelsior was sent on her first shakedown cruise. Excited to get its transwarp trials underway, Starfleet was almost immediately devastated when the USS Excelsior failed to reach transwarp. Starfleet's Corps of Engineers assured Starfleet that this was just a minor setback, with settling in adjustments and simple upgrades needed to be made to achieve the transwarp goal. And heading back to the drawing board, these adjustments, upgrades, and changes were made, and Excelsior was launched once again, ready to this time wow Starfleet Command. Unfortunately, once again, the transwarp drive system failed, this time performing even worse than it had done during its previous tests. Reviewing all the data collected, Starfleet's Corps of Engineers would attempt to correct the problem time and time again, they would fail to solve the transwarp problem. And by early 2288, Starfleet Command had had enough, and put an end once and for all to the Great Experiment. Even though Starfleet's knowledge and understanding of warp velocities and warp travel had been greatly increased, directly leading to the warp scale being rewritten in the early 24th century, the Excelsior Transwarp project was deemed a failure. But Starfleet Command wasn't done with the Excelsior class itself, as its non-transwarp related systems and the hull itself had outperformed Starfleet's expectations, exceeding the performance stats of even their newest Constitution-class refit design starships being constructed. So Starfleet decided to give the Excelsior class a second chance, and set its Corps of Engineers the task of refitting the USS Excelsior with more standardized but upgraded technology. The Excelsior class would have a standard safe cruising speed of warp factor 8, and an emergency maximum speed of warp factor 13. Tactically, the Excelsior class would contain 10 dual-phaser emitter banks, along with an additional 6 single emitter phaser banks. She would also contain 3 photon torpedo launchers, 2 forward and 1 aft. Shielding for this class would be standard for the time. The newly refit USS Excelsior would indeed outperform Starfleet's previous classes by leaps and bounds, and Starfleet, so impressed by its performance, would order the class into full production, intending it to replace the aging Constitution-class refit design and herald in the 24th century for Starfleet. Even the newest USS Enterprise, the Enterprise B, would end up being a variant design of the Excelsior class. And the Excelsior class would go on to be constructed, upgraded, and refit right into the 25th century. The Excelsior class, originally seen as a failure, would prove to be one of the biggest assets for Starfleet Command ever created, earning the Excelsior class its well-deserved place in Starfleet history. Thank you for watching today's episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon. What do you think of the 23rd century version of the Excelsior class and the historical narrative that I've created here? Do you want to see more videos like this one? Well, leave your comments in the section below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, hitting that little bell icon so you won't miss a single video we release. I also want to say a huge thank you once again to ThatGuyAndres for providing the awesome 3D model of the Excelsior class. Check out his link in the description below. Want to help the channel reach transwarp velocities? Then consider becoming a channel patron. The link to our Patreon account is in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Live long and prosper.
Level, please.
Transporter room.
Thank you.
Up your shaft.